there is a religion in public schools, especially, but it's not Christianity. Do you see that? What is the reason why there is such a strong anti-Christian sentiment and agenda going on in our schools in the United States and Canada and elsewhere in the Western world?
Well, so we all went to school and we learned that you either have a religion or you don't have a religion, right?
Right,
The greatest trick the devil ever played was to let people believe that he didn't exist.
right.
You can't not have a religion.
Hmm. Hmm.
You go ahead and think you don't have a religion, you do. Everybody has a religion. Religion is simply worldview, it's how you view the world. And so their worldview is children are accidental. They happen
Hmm.
entirely, humanity is entirely an accident.
Right.
Well, if that's your worldview, then why are we up in arms about the young 14-year-old who just shot up a school in Georgia? He's
Hmm.
only enacting the values that he was trained to understand and embrace.
Hmm.
The values of life has no value.
Hmm.
Abort the child in the womb. Transgender the child, perform experimental surgeries and apply experimental drugs to the children. These are the values of our culture. So it's ultimate hypocrisy for people who embrace those values to be upset over a school shooting.
Hmm. Hmm. And especially, I mean, just one of the things that's on the Ten Commandments that could have been posted in school is "Thou shalt not kill." And so,
It's true. It's
I
true. But
don't see. Go
I've
ahead.
said for a long time, we think that schools educate. They don't. And
Mm-hmm.
and my point is, you cannot claim to educate someone and hide the greatest work of literature and history
Mm-hmm.
from them
Mm-hmm.
and still claim to educate them. That's no, it's not allowed.
Mm-hmm. So these words, yeah. So these words are important, which leads me to discussion of your other book that we're featuring. That is "Words for Warriors: What It
Mm.
Means to Be an American. Fight Back Against Crazy Socialists and the Toxic Liberal Left." You've said in the commentary they've hijacked words and then used them against us, but we're going to take them back. And part of that, the way of doing that, is through education, right? And
Yeah.
is that part of the reason why you wrote this particular book?
Well, of course, I think every book is meant to educate people. I wrote this book to codify the definitions of words because they're
Right,
changing the definitions of them. I
right,
mean, these
yes.
two new words that we have, and actually there are three: misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And
Hmm.
malinformation is truth that might hurt people.
Yes,
Well, I guess
words
what?
are
Truth
violence.
hurts.
Yeah.
That's how it works. If you're
Hmm.
not with the truth, it's against you and it hurts. It hurts to
Hmm.
be against the truth.
And gets into a discussion of freedom of speech too, doesn't it? Because the only type of speech that needs protection is that which could give offense.
Of
But
course.
this is what people are afraid of. But how can you have any kind of meaningful conversation with somebody unless you could risk offending them? And these are some of the best conversations we could possibly have, is where, with sort of strongest steel is forged in hottest fire. Iron sharpeneth iron. But where these conversations are being banished, aren't they? And of course, this is happening so much in Canada and the United States now. Kamala Harris and Governor Walz have come out and said they want to place limits on free speech. They want to limit the First Amendment, which has been the bastion of free speech in the Western world. So these words really are very important, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, we're facing down communism that is fully American now.
Hmm.
And the only reason that we are in this battle today is because so many of us went to school and were trained to sit down and shut up. Don't
Yes.
challenge authority. Don't challenge the status quo. Don't
Hmm.
stand for truth. Don't. We were trained.
Hmm.
And that's, by the way, that's an attack on manhood. It's an attack
Yes.
on masculinity. It's an attack on truth and virtue, because truth and virtue need people to stand up or they will die and the lie will prevail. I think that if we stop speaking the truth, we will falter. And we're faltering even though there are people out there speaking the truth. And so I think we need more people speaking the truth, not fewer. And so that's just been a co-mission of mine. And partly because we've been lied to for so long by our schools, by our quote educational institutions. They are not institutions of education. They're institutions of slavery, which is why I categorize it as emancipation. We are enslaved by our schools. That's why parents feel incapable of home education or of homeschooling. I don't like to call it homeschooling, but parents feel incapable because they went to school and they were schooled to think they were incapable. That's enslavement. And so if I can free them and free their children, they can discover everything that they're missing. And it's a tremendous amount. You don't know what it's like to have teenagers who don't rebel, because our culture has simply accepted the lie that, well, teenagers rebel. And so people would say to me, oh, you have 3 teenagers. Wow, you've got your hands full. And I'd just look at them and I'd say, full of love. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what it's like to have your teenager come into your bedroom late at night to sit on the end of your bed and just download their day to you because they want to spend time with you.
Right. Yeah.
And you can have that. And it's not that hard to achieve. All you have to do is not send them to an institution all day, every day.
This problem that you're describing seems to be particularly acute with women in terms of accepting really an incorrect, abusive, manipulative ideology. That is that woman's place being in the home as a mother and as a wife, that somehow this is something copping out, checking out of reality, when in fact these are the most important roles in our society. Period. A society without mothers does not exist. There's no society. And this sort of ties into, by way of segue, this ties into the presidential election too, doesn't it? Because now we have a choice between very, very stark contrast, it seems, although the Democrats are trying very hard to blur the distinction between the two. But it seems as though there are women out there who are prepared to vote Democrat just because Kamala Harris happens to be a woman. And you've pointed this out. This is very, very concerning. Why do you think this is? Why is this happening? Why are there, so when you look at for example, at the recent Democratic National Convention, there were like 80%, you pointed out on Twitter, 80% of women were there. You said 80% of the rally goers are women. This is a problem. What's the problem?
The problem is that women tend to make emotional decisions. And that's the wrong way to make a decision. Yeah. But because we went to school, we weren't trained to make logical decisions. We weren't trained to analyze. We were trained, in school, you're trained to make a pros and cons list. Have you ever done that? You make a pros and cons list and it's just more chaos because you're looking at both sides going, well, I still don't have an answer. The way to make a decision is to prioritize. And these women are prioritizing what's between her legs, which is the most ridiculous way to make any decision, except maybe who you're going to marry, of all. And so that's a problem. It's a problem on many different levels. But I by the year 2030, 45% of childbearing aged women will be childless by the year 2030. Wow. That's 5 years away. We are going to have a largely childless society. This is partly why we're importing so many people, also to skew the vote. But that's a problem. And the reason that that's a problem is because humans are very good at being selfish, but when they are selfish, they're not very good humans. And so
that's brilliant. Well done.
Thank you. Write it down and then send it to me. What we need to do is we need to go back to a service mentality, because in service, We discover our own self-worth. But when we
Mm.
are selfish, we know how worthless we are.
I really appreciate what you say about being a servant, because of course, servant leadership is what is exemplified by Jesus. Before you go, we've kept you a while here, and we're so grateful for your time. I'd like you to tell us about the new book that you just written that you're about to release.
Oh, yes. Parents' Guide to Homeschool is a workbook for parents to walk you through what it means to home educate your children so that you can think rightly about it. It is not school at home. And so I'm trying to get parents to understand they are more than capable. There's a reason that they've been given their children by God. Your children are a gift by God, right?
Mhm.
Don't let someone else open your gift. You open your gift. And so the book is really about empowerment and understanding what education is.
Right. I have to say, as someone who's relatively new to homeschooling, I'm very grateful to you for the work that you've done and the books that you've produced, because they're a tremendous resource to people like me who don't know as much about homeschooling as you do. So thanks so much for producing these great books.
Thank you for saying that. And also don't leave out how much you've learned from him. You know,
Yes.
we think that our
Yes.
children part of the devaluation of our children is thinking that they can't teach us anything, but they've been sent here to teach us.
Hmm.
So when
Hmm.
you forego that, you send your kids away, you stunt your own growth.
Mm.
When you bring
Fascinating.
them back home, they they have so much to offer. You have so much to learn from them,
Hmm.
including
Hmm.
maybe patience. I don't know.
Wow. Thank you. And God bless you and Kevin and all the work that you're doing. And thank you for being our special guest here on Gray Matter. So we got to know you a little bit better. We wish you best of luck in all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you.